are heavy as well as our packs. Our eyes scan the ground. Will we soon find their tracks? The frost is white upon my skin. The air is cold, the air is thin. Run through the valley and over the hill. It's the unforgettable thrill of hunting moomin. Of hunting moomin. Back at the cottage, clean ourselves with steam, resting in front of the fire. Mic on, there we go, we can start. Hi everybody, welcome to the live stream. I was going to wear my wizard hat, but there's a problem in that I'm also wearing headphones, and wizard hats are not designed for headphones, so we'll put that aside for now. Welcome to live stream number 5. I can't believe a month has gone by already, and you know, I'm keeping these things up. I'm slowly getting the hang of it, and it's getting to be quite enjoyable actually. So I'm going to switch to game frame right, which should allow us to actually see what I'm doing on my screen, because of course, what are we going to do today? We're going to go into the Orthoverse, and I thought, you know, why not start us off with the title screen and my amazing stash of ether, almost $65 worth. Maybe I shouldn't be showing that, because people might think, oh, we want to take that, and start targeting me. Seriously though, I think I'm pretty safe. Right, so those of you who've been tuning in on a weekly basis should be pretty familiar with this by now. However, I do want to take the opportunity to point out to people that there is a read the user's guide link here on the title page, and it really is worth a look if you're going to go into the Orthoverse and start wandering around with your voxel character, because a lot of the questions I'm getting asked are actually answered in this document. Yeah, I know it's shocking. Manuals which actually tell you how to do stuff. Unbelievable, but it's true. Actually, a little bit of history here. My first job in the technology world was actually as a technical writer. I started my first 2 years after finishing with academia as a tech writer for a Cambridge software company, and it was an excellent company. It was called Harlequin, and really I can't think of a better way to kick off your career in the tech world than as a tech writer from the perspective of improving your skills, because the guys I was working with there gave me a really good education in good writing. We had a sort of atmosphere there in the office where we discussed all sorts of writing techniques and interesting things about writing in the English language, and I think it immensely improved my English writing skills. I wish I'd had that training before I even went off to university. There is a downside though to starting your career in the tech world as a technical writer, and that is that there is a hierarchy in the technical side of the technical world, and that is that software architects kind of are at the top of the heap, and then software developers, and then test automation developers, and then test engineers, and unfortunately at the very bottom are tech writers. So that's the downside. You get labeled as being a lower class citizen in the tech world when you move into one of those lower careers. So if you can get into development first, it's probably actually better from a career point of view. But from a personal enrichment point of view, you can do a lot worse than not being a tech writer at the start. Anyway, so yeah, the manual, I see that Leo Stelik has said that it's actually one of the few one of the few manuals he's read that was actually useful, and I can believe it, because it really does tell you a lot more stuff than you would think, and I think it's reasonably entertaining to read. I've tried to write it like the game manuals that used to come with the games that I played in the 80s with the Spectrum, and they it felt like there was actually some passion behind them, and that the people writing them actually were really cared about the game. So hopefully that kind of comes through here too. So what's Leos saying now? What you say about technical writing resonates, Kier. Had a similar experience going through the IBM Red Books writing experience. Very useful. Yeah, it is. Writing is an immensely important skill, and there are a lot of people out there who, quite frankly, are not very good at it. I think I'm kind of reasonable at it now, but it's taken years and years of practice. And the main thing that you have to do in order to get good at writing is to simply write a lot. And that takes time. Anyway, so I'll skip away from the manual now. You can read that in your own time. But anyway, you can see here, it's the bottom link, read the user's guide. Maybe Richard and I should make that button flash occasionally just to draw people's attention to it. Although really what we want people to do, of course, is to go over to reveal your land token and pay the princely sum of $3 or $4 in ETH, of which Richard and I get 50 cents, and the rest gets burnt or goes to the miners on Ethereum. So we're making other people rich with the Orthoverse at the moment, but hey, it's not got the slogan "The Orthoverse is Doomed" for nothing. Right, so Govinda Paul is asking, anyone know how to use ETH-sign in MetaMask coding? Well, yes, Govinda, I do. And in fact, I'm about to show the use of it with the Orthoverse. I'm going to go to play, and I'm going to go to log on with MetaMask. And what's going to happen is MetaMask will pop up, and I'm going to get a message to sign. And that is the use of signing in Web3 in MetaMask. And in fact, it really has nothing to do with blockchain at this point. This is purely about asymmetric key cryptography. It's just that the arrival of blockchain and the initial popularity of crypto, and the fact that people are now aware of this and people are installing MetaMask, is the key thing that has changed. So we've had all the tech before, but now the tech is appearing in the top right hand corner of people's browsers, and that is what's driving the adoption of decentralized identity, because we've had this stuff for decades. I think pretty good privacy with Phil Zimmerman, and there was an idea of building a web of trust, and they were using public and private keys, and the problem they had was how to get a reputation attached to your public key, and they used to have key signing parties. So yeah, that's, I mean, you may think that LAN parties where people go and play Quake or Half-Life or something against each other were geeky, but I mean, that is nothing compared to people having a party where they dial in some pizza and open a bottle of wine, and then they sign each other's public keys with their private keys in order to attest that that person is who they say they are. It's oh, they must have been a laugh, those parties. Anyway, so I'm going to sign this message now. So having laughed at them, I'm now going to do exactly what they were doing. And what I've done here is I've added this bit of ASCII art here, and I honestly, I'm going to say this again, I don't know why more personal sign messages don't do something like this. So when you have a transaction in Ethereum, you are signing something. You're signing a binary string, a set of binary numbers that encode your transaction, that say, I want to interact with this contract, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and then you sign it. Now, of course, sometimes you may want to sign something just to prove that you have control over the private key that goes with the public key, and that's what I'm doing here. But what you don't want is someone saying, okay, prove that you own this address, here, sign this. And what they're doing is the equivalent of giving you a check to sign. So, you know, if somebody said, prove that you are who you are by giving me your signature, and by the way, could you sign this checkbook, please? Then you would probably say no. It's easy to fall into that trap with Ethereum because you're asked to sign quite a bunch of stuff, and a lot of it's kind of incomprehensible. So people often are just clicking sign, take the time to think about what you're signing before you do it. And these personal sign, as they're called, types of signature, have got some protections in them to stop you from accidentally signing things that are transactions. There's a requirement that it's prefixed with a string, that ensures that it can't be a transaction. But then they stick up a message, and to be honest, some of the messages are pretty cryptic. But I think this one is pretty clear. Sign this message to log on to the Orthoverse. And obviously, because it's got all this wibbly wobbly stuff in the form of this lovely ASCII art, it's yeah, sorry, I'm getting distracted because there's somebody flying along in the background there, and what I'm guessing is, I'm going to sign this and go and explore this. What I'm guessing is I've got my rendering distance set on to yeah, there we go, exactly what I suspected. I have my rendering distance set so it'll only render 2 chunks, as they're called in voxel games, into the distance. But excuse me, but for some reason it renders the world up 2 chunks away, but it renders players more than 2 blocks away, and that means that you see the players before you see the land. And so as you see, if I go back enough, that mountain should disappear. It's not disappearing though. Let me put on some speed. Let's run away and go. Oh, I just ran through someone. There we go. Somebody floating in midair. Delightful. Leos has just said that it's him jumping around. Yeah, there we go. Hello, Leos. Nice to see you on the top of a mountain there. Got a good avatar this week. Yeah, at the moment we're getting random avatars, so we don't really have a choice. I'm not even sure if we're all getting the same avatars. So I'm seeing Leos is having a kind of Maurizio Magaldi style beard. What do I supposedly look like? Oh, no, I think I'm stuck with the same one. I seem to have had this green-haired person for quite some time now. Anyway, right, so it's good to see that a whole bunch of people are appearing here. We got Dara Self. I saw some other people appearing, but they're too far away. So Ken is here. Motefga is here. So we've got 4. That's good. And at the moment we apparently have about 8 people following the live stream at the same time. I hope it's sounding okay, by the way, that it's all clear and fun. Right, I guess it is because people are commenting, so that would suggest that it is all going okay. Right, anyway, so I said that I was going to demonstrate a build hack, not hack so much as an efficient way to build things that I only came up with a few days ago, and I wish I'd known about it earlier because it would have made my life a lot easier. So firstly, for those of you who haven't seen it before, this is the gateway into Fang Wanina. There we go, and you can see that it's a bit low but not bad, the sound. Okay, I probably put the mic, let's do that now, and if I speak right up there then it'll be really loud. So that's probably not good. Maybe it's because I'm speaking into it as a sort of interviewer microphone, but it's actually a side bass one. So let's see. Yeah, I think that's probably going to be louder and better. Okay, anyway, audio stuff out of the way. So here I am in Fang Wanina, which is the land just to the north of the Orthohenge that somebody actually sold me for, I think it was 0.1 ETH. Maybe somebody wants to go and look it up. But I bought it. Somebody else ended up with it, which is evidence of the fact that we have been as fair and honest as we can about the allocation and placement of lands, because I could have made sure that all my lands were stacked around the arrival point, and I didn't. And then I realized that I hadn't actually minted very many lands, even though it's my own project. And so I corrected that, but it meant they were all in the outskirts. And then somebody, I don't know who, decided to put up this prime piece of real estate for what I think was a remarkably low price. But hey, actually I'll be careful. I'm sounding like I'm moving into shilling land tokens. But I'm happy because now I don't have to go very far to build stuff. And to be honest, the teleporting to your own lands is on the to-do list. I'm still working on some fundamental stuff for saving and loading lands, and in particular using the database that we have of all the addresses and the lands they own in order to construct the world. Because at the moment we have this sort of hodgepodge clunky mess where we're scraping Ethereum, which is one kind of database, we're writing it to a file, and a file is kind of another database, and then that file is passed in order to put it in a database, and then we go back to using the file to build the world. So that's a bit stupid. But Richard has actually made a query for the database that creates the JSON object that describes the entire world, and we can load that in. And now I am involved in the usual mess of JavaScript asynchronicity and callback stuff. So the corrections I've made don't work. If I was to put the latest code in, then the Orthoverse would consist just of hinges and lots of C, which would have the correct names for everything, but not the correct layout. So anyway, without any further ado, let's walk off into the dark, have a quick look at what I've done so far. So I've added a few more houses, and that's going to give you a hint as to what's coming up. So here's the problem. If you look at the bottom of my screen, I'll move my cursor around it, you can see that I've managed to collect some items by mining, and I've got the materials to maybe build a nice tower, or maybe you know, another house or something like that. And what my initial plan was is that you've got the surface of the world, and someone's just commented, it's getting dark, and it gets dark every time I start a show. And that's true, it does, and I really should turn off daylight for these shows. But again, it's a world, right? I can't just turn off the night in the real world, so I guess I shouldn't do that in this world either. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So the idea is that you will go and mine, and in fact, if you go more than about 10 blocks down, then you end up in an underground world. And if I go into this one, you will see there are all sorts of blocks available to be mined, and I have been diligently mining lots and lots of them, and you end up in what I think Ken the other day described as an oubliette. You sort of dig your way into a pit, and then it's really hard to get out, and you end up with a very strange looking world. Now this is great in that it means there's a large supply of things. Here, let me just mine a step, for example, and let's mine that block. There's a substantial amount of material for you to gather in order to build with, but to be honest, it is a bit tedious, especially since the various things that you need are scattered around in different places. So I'm going to teleport with H back to the author henge. And one of the techniques I came up with almost immediately is that if you have a high enough level token, you have a number of save slots where you can save the world. And so what you can do is you can save the world as it is with, say, slot 1, then do a whole load of digging and mining, and then you can load the world from slot 1 again, and now it goes back to what it was like before you mined, and you happen to have all the materials in your build bar anyway. And so I've been doing that for the last 4 weeks. I'm using 7 to store my world as I want it to be. That's kind of like the master copy, and I use slot 1 that I switch to go and dig up stuff, and then I load 7 again, and now I have materials. But that still involves going underground. And then it just hit me last couple of nights ago. This is ridiculous. I've got all the materials I need to, for example, build this house here in my world. So all I have to do is, if I save it, I'm going to do that now. I've saved the current state, and now what I can do is I can dismantle the entire house. Right, so there we go. Hop. I'm just taking the house apart. Probably is okay to see. So like that. Just yeah, you sort of turn into a virtual demolition man. And okay, it takes some time, but there are 2 advantages to this. Firstly, I'm not having to dig all the way underground, and the second one is I'm left with the perfect kit you need to build the thing that you want to build. So if you're making a duplicate of something, then doing it this way, by dismantling something that you've already built, and then And then at the end, what I will be doing is I will be loading my world as it was when I saved it just before I started dismantling this house. The house will be back again, but I will have in my build bar exactly what I need to build one house. If I didn't have any items at all when I came in, then I would have the exact kit required for building one of these houses. And I think they're very nice houses. I should probably dig up the YouTube video where I found someone demonstrating how to do this and give them a shout out, because I believe that's what you're supposed to do in this world. But anyway, so here we go. I'm kind of halfway there, I think. And I'll just keep digging. There we go. You see, this is the bit that I find quite hard, is I'm trying to concentrate on what I'm doing and I have to talk at the same time. And so you may think that these gamers on Twitch are a bunch of idiots shouting at their screens, but it's actually quite a skill to be able to talk and think about what it is that you're doing in the actual game at the same time. I mean, I think the esports types, they don't, of course, engage with their fans. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe some of them do kind of have a running monologue. Maybe it has something to do with the internal narrator that some of us have and some of us don't. So for some people, maybe it's very easy to just turn on the vocal cords and talk about exactly what it is that they're thinking. Now, I don't think I have a particularly loud internal narrator myself, whereas my wife says that she has one, and it turns out that he sounds quite a lot like Stephen Fry. And the other problem she has is that he speaks at a certain speed, and that limits the rate at which he can read. So, but for me, it's sort of, I think I'm more visual. I kind of see what's going on. Right, so I'm going to go up here, dismantle the last of the roof. Okay, Les, while I was talking and doing stuff, said that does not sound like Orthoverse Is Doomed to me. I guess you were talking about me buying the land in a good position? Oh no, hold on. So to save, demolish... No, he's talking about the house. Save, demolish the house, get all the material, restore the state prior saving, and you get the house back and keep all the material. Yes, that's exactly what you do. We have managed to break the conservation of mass rule in the Orthoverse. And yes, there is a part of me that was thinking that's not proper. But on the other hand, you know, it's not the most trivial thing. And you have to go and collect the materials from the underground to begin with anyway. So I think all in all, it's probably not bad. Right, so I've got everything I need except for those last four crosses. So I will, not four crosses, the last cross of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the other use for this is that if you build something and you want to make a tutorial, you can find out exactly how many parts are needed in it by dismantling it when you have nothing in your possession, because at the end you will have exactly what you need to build the thing that you dismantled. Right, anyway, so this is the bit where I have to be careful. So I've now completely dismantled this house except for the basement. We won't bother with that for now. Now I need to make sure that I load it and don't save it. So if I accidentally hit 7 now, I'm going to be saving the dismantled house world, and that is not what I want. So I'm going to hit Shift 7 and that will load it, and it will take a short moment. There we go, and the house is back. So it's as if I never took it apart. But if we look, I'm scrolling the build bar now, we have a whole bunch of extra materials that I didn't have before. And that means I can go and start building another house. So what would be a good place to build one? Maybe we can have a nice one next to the duck pond here. So we can go 1, 2, 3. And this is another thing I've noticed, is that by building more and more, you actually get better at assembling stuff. Right, so you see I'm out of stone bricks, but I have had just the right amount to build the same thing that I had in the previous house. So I had exactly the right supply. So now I need cobblestone. And I want 2, 3. Let's go a little bit further around. 4. This is going to be fun. A house next to the water. I bet they'll be able to charge extra rent for that when they rent it out on Airbnb. Then that goes here. So just a reminder, if you want to place stairs, if you want them to face in the right direction, you need to be facing in the right direction, and click at the back of the panel. It actually interprets where you're clicking in order to put the stairs in the right orientation. And it was a bit counterintuitive to me to start with. Okay, so here we hit our first problem. So how am I going to place... Whoop, nope. How am I going to place that properly? Because we don't want that there. Let's see. I should just be able to stand right back. There we go. And finally over there. Right, so we've got the first 2 heights of a house done. So now I can go and grab, I think we're using spruce wood, so it's not exactly a Tudor house. And I can even just look across and copy what I'm doing there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, Ken's just asked, are there stairs for the sci-fi lands? And the answer is that at the moment there are not. But I really want to add them, because my sons have said that one of the eternal questions in games such as Minecraft is, could we have concrete stairs? And I have used the wrong thing, have I? Yeah, you see, I was using oak and I've just put spruce for this house, so that's annoying. But not too annoying, because what I can do is I can save what I've done so far, and then I can dismantle that spruce and rebuild it again. But I think I'm actually going to go with oak. Yeah, so your question, Ken, yeah, well, I'm going to add concrete stairs at some point, because it really has struck me how much more creative you can be with stairs and slabs than you can with just the square blocks. It adds an extra element of charm to the builds. And there are 16 different colors of concrete blocks in the Orthoverse. So if each of those came in stairs too, I think that would actually give you the ability to make some pretty amazing builds. But as I said, it's for the future, unless the Orthoverse is doomed before I manage to get around to that. But first, let's get saving the worlds working properly and a database so that we can actually, that should give us some speed improvements. And then the next one will be avatars, because I've got the avatar design. I've had it since before Christmas. It's just a matter of finding the time to work on it. And when I say finding the time, I mean Richard finding the time, because he's the database guy. And he also has a serious job, so he actually doesn't have crazy amounts of time that he can spend just doing what he likes. I mean, that's what he wants to do, but he has a company to look after and a bunch of employees, so he can't spend all his time mucking around in the Orthoverse, whereas I, on the other hand, only have a bunch of kids and a family and a large house to look after, so not a problem. I just put them in front of the TV and say, I'm going to go and code now. And sometimes they even actually go and watch what's on the TV and leave me in peace, but most of the time, no. Right, that's why, by the way, I have this live streaming at what is 11 o'clock at night for me. Yeah, so this is coming along. Hop. And that's... Yes, so next hint. Use something like leaves as scaffolding in order to climb up onto things, because you can only jump so high, and then you can use that, and then you can get rid of it later in order to make it all look a bit smarter and tidier. Right, so I got all this polished diorite, and looking across there we have 3. Oh, not there. Oh, come on. I bet there are kids out there who could do this at 10 times the rate of me. Yep, and then 1, 2, 3, there. So that's one wall. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I'm going to stop this fairly soon because I imagine people don't want to spend their entire evening watching me putting diorite blocks on top of diorite blocks. But I think you've got the point. And actually, hopefully, me doing this shows you that, you know, if a 51-year-old man, soon to be 52, who hadn't really been playing games for a decade, can get this competent at placing blocks. What am I saying? What am I like? Then how easy will it be for you? Right, so it looks like I've placed some of these blocks in the wrong place. Maybe this one's actually not necessary because I ran out. So we'll put that one. No, that's the wrong one. You can actually mix diorite and polished diorite up and get this kind of nice effect. I think that's interesting. Right, anyway, let's save that. You can see it's starting to take shape. It does look a bit like a new build that's half finished. Okay, let's just save that with a 7. Right, so that was the trick. I can't remember, somebody said they were really looking forward to me revealing it to them. I know this is not earth-shattering stuff. This is not an amazing breakthrough in voxel gaming, but it's just really, really handy to know. And because I didn't think about it for the first month, I imagine there will be other people who wouldn't have thought about it either. And that way you can, like I'm doing here, slowly start building a village. And now that I'm here at the castle, interesting. I built a throne here yesterday, and it's just more evidence that the saving structure needs to be improved. That it's kind of like, it's not a command line thing, but it's the pressing 1 or shift 1 is not as intuitive as I thought it would be, because this is not the first time I've done something and then come back and found that I hadn't saved it. Okay. Ken's saying, haha, it's perfect. What, my throne? Well, I mean, I can build it right away now. Look, 1, 2. It's not exactly, it wasn't exactly hard. It was more thinking about how you put it together. 3. There we go. 4. And it had, I think I had a nice sort of back like this. There you go, a basic throne. I had other fancy stuff around it too, but I can't remember what it was. Now, this is a weird one. You can see here I've currently got 62 somethings selected, and those somethings are grass, and it's not the green stuff on top of a dirt block. It's the little shoots that are growing up. And I can't work out why sometimes I manage to harvest them and sometimes I don't. I think they're getting dropped by something that I'm mining. It's this stuff. It happened to me before, and I used it to set up what I hoped would look like crops. So if I wanted to, I could make the forest really grassy. See, there we go. Up. But I don't know when it appears and when it doesn't. I've got to find out what is it that I mined that gave me grass, because I've got 59 of them now. Here, I mean, we can put a whole bunch of grass in front of the house. Initially, when I had this set up, every time you mined a tree, you ended up getting sticks, and used to get sticks and apples. And then I found the part in the code where it said that one time in 3 when you mined some oak, I think it was birch trees or something, you got an apple. So bit of a mismatch there. Okay, J Beg is asking, what blockchain is this? Well, this isn't a blockchain. This is a voxel world, but the tokens that represent the land in it, i.e. the tokens that are used to give you the right to build on a land represented by that token, are in an NFT contract on Ethereum. So we did initially have it on Polygon, but people were struggling so much to get, they found it hard enough to get MetaMask installed and get some Ether, let alone then use a bridge to try and bridge Ether over to Polygon and then get a little bit of Matic in order to be able to use their bridged ETH. So in the end, we migrated off Polygon to Ethereum. Oh no, who knows? Maybe Polygon will turn around in 3 months' time when the Orthoverse is immensely famous and offer us a huge bribe to go back to them. Oh, look, there we are. Derek here is here. Hello. One of the things I noticed the other day is that people are communicating using gestures sometimes. So hopping up and down is kind of a showing that you're excited, or showing that you're aware of the other person and that you're still active. And I find it funny how you can end up with visual language evolving, and you can get some quite subtle meanings into it. So that adds yet another thing that I want to put on the to-do list, which is to make the movement a bit more animated and possibly even add in the possibility of emotes. But I do think it's a bit fluffy, and it's something that I'll leave for later. Ultimately, it would be nice to be able to communicate with people, not just by typing. Also have an idea of seeing if I can attach some kind of voice chat thing to it. If you make each land into a channel, then you could say, you know, as long as you're standing in the same channel as someone else, then what am I saying, channel, standing in the same land as someone else, you'll be on the same voice channel and you can talk to them, and then we can give the owner of the token admin rights so they can kick people off who are being unpleasant, or if they're trying to have a conference and people keep invading. Yeah, look there, see, I can't read your name in the dark. I think that's Leos again. We can do waggling, we can do jumping, we can do jump and turn. Ooh, I have no idea what that looks like. Yeah, maybe actually, I wonder if I can. No, he's just turning sideways and jumping. I don't know if the turning is visible when you jump. Anyway, I could spend hours doing this and people will just be watching going, what on earth is he doing, and can he actually talk about something a bit more interesting? Right. So I kind of wanted to keep this one a bit more social, and we've got 3 people in there now. 4 people, including me. And Derek here was asking, how can you change your name? And the answer to that, unfortunately, is that at the moment you can't, or rather you can, but it involves opening the developer tools and going to the application setting and editing a field in the local storage. So it gets a bit complicated. What we will have is when the avatars go live, excuse me, when the avatars go live, you'll be able to design what your character looks like, and you'll be able to change the name there, as long as you're not changing it to a name that somebody else has already taken. Ah, that's better. So, really nice Finnish spring water. They've got some very clean water in Finland. I guess having water that you're pumping out from 60,000 years of it filtering through granite, I don't know, maybe it's slightly too radioactive compared to some other countries, but it's certainly very tasty. Right. So that's how Fangwania is progressing. If you have your own land, I do recommend just hop in when you're bored and build something. Find a tutorial online for a little thing like a house, and just put one up. And all I've done is, like in the evening when I don't feel like working anymore, I hop in there for half an hour or an hour, and I stick an extra bit of wall in. Or here I built some barracks, for example, for the vast armed forces of Fangwania, and a little stone circle for the druids right next to the church. I think I mentioned that somebody worked out how you can climb up onto the roof, and the answer is you go to the side here and then you jump up here, over here. You can't quite make that jump, so you have to do a little tricky onto this block to the side, and then you're on the roof. And they've stolen the lead off the roof again. I'm going to fix this once and for all. There we go. It's meant to be little tiles in here. and they're constantly missing. So now I will remember to hit 7 and save. We've got someone coming to join me. So this is another great thing. It's when you think about these worlds, they're not particularly complicated, and yet in a small 96 by 96 voxel area you can build an immense amount of complicated stuff. I find it quite incredible how much stuff you can pack into such a small space. It must be quite fun to be designing this kind of stuff for games, actually. What I initially was going to do was I was going to recreate the first Dungeons and Dragons module I ever played, which was Keep on the Borderlands. It came with the basic Dungeons and Dragons set, and I thought, well, it'd be fun to build the caverns that were in that, so that people who were playing Dungeons and Dragons in the 70s or 80s, if they came across the caves, it might ring a bell. But then I thought, well, no, it just looked like a bunch of caves. So who knows? Maybe I'll do it anyway. You can jump onto trees. There we go. But I don't know. Is it acceptable to climb onto churches and jump up and down on a roof? I'm not exactly sure. Anyway, so we've got 20 minutes left, and I think I've spent a fair amount of time talking about building. I've talked a bit about some of the future features that should be turning up. So what I wanted to do was talk a little bit more about Web3 authentication, because I keep starting to talk about it and then I get sidetracked by something. And I kind of went through it a bit at the beginning of this video as well, that it's not specific to blockchain. It's just that blockchain encourages people to have public and private key pairs, and that means that the public key can be used as their identity and the private key can be used for authentication to prove that that is indeed their identity. And so that's what I'm doing here in the Orthoverse. You prove that you control a public address by signing a challenge. That's that sign this to sign on to the Orthoverse message, and then the server goes, right, you are now authenticated. So your identity has been confirmed because you responded correctly to the challenge. And only you can respond to that challenge because only you should have the private key. Then what that means is that I now have a session with the game server. So the game server goes, right, I've got this HTTPS connection between your web client and me, the server, and the packets that are getting sent backwards and forwards have what's called a token attached to them, not like a blockchain token. It's called a JavaScript web token, I think, JWT. And because you're communicating over a secure channel, HTTPS, no one can listen in, and the fact that you're sending your messages with that token attached each time means the server can verify that it is indeed you. And then it can say, right, you are therefore allowed to edit this land. So the Orthoverse server can go and look up, are you in a land that that address is the owner of the token for? And if you are, then up pops this this build bar. And if you're in a land that you don't own, then the build bar doesn't pop up and you can't build on it. And it's as simple as that. And the neat thing about this is that I don't need to be keeping a database of users on my server. And that means that if my server gets hacked, the hacker cannot steal a whole list of passwords and email addresses, or even credit card numbers or stuff like that, if you're poor enough, stupid enough to keep those on the server in an unsafe manner. So it allows for an anonymity in a way that means that I don't have to worry about GDPR regulations, for example. I don't have any personal information or personal identifying information, and so I'm not processing or controlling any data, so I don't need to worry about all that side of things. So for a small outfit, a small entity that isn't looking to monetize user data, it's really the sensible approach to take. You get rid of a lot of legal worries without losing functionality. Plus, of course, it's futuristic and cool. I mean, hey, even though it doesn't use blockchain, it seems like it does. So so that's kind of the core of Web3 authentication, and I think we're going to see more of it as time goes on, and I think it's going to start with small companies. The big companies, the Googles and the Facebooks, they're not going to want it because it's just, you know, it doesn't fit with their monetization models. But for things like the Orthoverse, it is the way that I would say you should go. Oh, and am I still on a tree? Yes, I am. Right, okay, find Ken, find Pen Doorbell if you want to see a pyramid the size of the entire land. Okay, guys, we have to see this. We've only got 15 minutes left. Can I make it to Pen Doorbell? Challenge accepted. Orthoverse.map. No, not Orthoverse.map. What am I saying? We should actually, I wonder if we can grab that one. That's Orthoverse.io/map. I wonder if we can get to the, probably not anymore if there is a .map top domain, which I'm not sure there is. Let's get that name again. Pen Doorbell. Pen Doorbell. Is that the correct name? Pen. Right, there is no Pen Doorbell. Maybe Pen Orbdell. Yes, Pen Orbdell. Thanks, Ken. You've already sent me on a wild goose chase by typing the name of your own land incorrectly. Right, there it is. Pen Orbdell is in the southeast, then head north around the lake. Okay, let's get going. Yes, I know it's Pen Orbdell, Ken. I worked that out for myself. Right. Okay. Time to go. In fact, the fastest thing will be to teleport, and then we need to go southeast. So I'm currently going east, so this will be... I don't find it intuitive to get directions in here, to be honest. I think that's going to take me into the southeast exit, and then I want to go north. And then there should, if I got the right place, be just water to the north here, making the southeast island one of the more desirable ones, although of course it won't be an island. Right. Okay, so Ken's saying that the delay is about 20 seconds for me saying something. Is it really that big? There's no delay for me, Ken. I can hear what I'm saying immediately. Right, okay, so we head north. Should be getting there soon. Oh, by the way, I worked out a workaround to fix the giant jumping pit. I think it was this land that we had that on last time. There we go. Yeah, where we had that pit where when you went into it there were invisible blocks and you couldn't... you got trapped in it. It turns out if you save your land and then load it when you get one of those pits, it fixes it. So there's probably some input-output error that happens occasionally, and I don't know what triggers it. And okay. Oh, that is pretty high, and this white thing means that I can't get to the very top. Ooh, is that intentional, I wonder? Yes, so JC is saying OMG. I'm guessing he's saying OMG because of the size of this thing, and it is pretty impressive. I'm gonna climb to the top. So I worked out where I needed to go. So JPEG's asking, how can we play? Well, you go to authorverse.land. And that's the website, and it gives you all the information you need. There's the user guide for moving around in it. Oh, nice gold top there, Ken. And then it also tells you how to get your token, and there's a link to the place to get your token, which at the moment gas is quite high, so I'm afraid they are the princely sum of $5 or even $6 if you pick a bad time. And then after about 4 hours to 6 hours, our scrapers will pick up on that and add it to the world. And then you'll be able to actually go to your own land and build. Or you can just go in as a guest and have a look around. You don't have to have a token. Right, there's an entrance there. Oh, no. There we go. Hop. Oh, there's a little room at the top and pits for people to fall down. Well, that looks very futuristic, actually. Very glowing, very good. So, Jay, I got distracted in the middle of telling you how to join. But basically, go to authorverse.land, and there are buttons there that you can click on that will take you to various documents that you can read up about it, or you can just play as a guest, or if you've got a MetaMask wallet already. Ooh. Shall I do it? Shall I jump? Yeah, if you've got a MetaMask wallet already, you can log in with your account, but you won't be able to build anywhere because you won't have a token. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to take the leap into the unknown. Whoa. Oh. Okay, so that was a mistake because I can't get out. Ken has built a pit, and actually in the early days this happened to me. Somebody had made a big underground cavern under their land. I went into it and then I couldn't get out anymore, and that is when I invented the following. I press H and I'm safely back at the Orthoverse. It was very important to add teleporting because it was very easy to get stuck, and let me tell you, if you're the blockchain Gandalf and you're stuck in someone else's land, it is highly embarrassing. Problem is, I will have to now run all the way back there again if I want to explore any of the other bits. But we've only got 9 minutes left. I don't really feel like my brain is firing on all 4 cylinders today. It's been a bit of a tiring week, to be honest. So I think I'm just going to have fun. I'm going to go and explore the rest of that pyramid, and that is if I've actually gone to the correct island. Right, so yeah, this is the right one. There's all that water. Hop. So Jay has said thank you and popcorn. Yeah, well, you're welcome. Always happy to have more people join, and to be honest, I'm looking forward to finding out how many people it can support at the same time, because at the moment we've never had more than, I think the most was 7, and it worked okay. But you do need to have a reasonable PC. It may be running in a web browser, but that doesn't mean that you can run it on a 7-year-old Windows box. What was Windows 7 years ago? Windows 8? Something like that. I think I saw a door there. I'm going to go in there. Right. Okay. Oh! God. Okay. This... I do like the look of it. It's got a really... The coloured concrete works nicely. That doesn't look good. Have I gone into another dead end and I'm just going to get stuck? Or has he built a 3D maze or something like that? Right. Yeah, but these different... Oh, there we go. There's some steps. Yeah, the colours are going to work nicely. I'll work on getting the steps done. If I get bored of... I'm out. If I get bored of trying to save the world... Anthony Day will like that. Keir can't save the world. If I get bored of that, then I'll put some effort into making these steps. I think I know how to do it. It's just a little bit tedious. All right. Okay, someone else is talking. So I've got people talking on both the world and the live stream, which is kind of quite a lot to keep track of. John Wriggler saying, is there a trick that lets me save my location to something like a cookie? I often end up back at the henge and have to swim back to my land. It should save it if you're using it on the same machine. But again, when avatars are sorted out, you'll have user accounts, not user accounts in the Facebook sense of give me all your data and I will gather it up and give it to political manipulation companies. but in the sense of you will be able to save what you look like. You'll be able to save your name, and we'll have details about what you were doing and stuff for the last sort of hour or two, and that will then give you the ability to go back to where you were, hopefully, if your local thing hasn't saved it properly, because it's this the system uses Prismarine web client and Flying Squid, which are part of the Prismarine JS project, and it's a bit confusing because the server and the web client have a data structure that keeps track of everything, and they try to keep them in sync. And if you don't have them in sync, then the server kind of overrides the client. But it should remember where you are unless you move to a different machine. Then it doesn't. But when the accounts work, then it will remember even if you are on a different machine, and you'll be able to go to where you were before. That's the plan anyway. Plus, I'm going to add teleporting to your own lands at some point. So when you press H, instead of it taking to the author henge, it'll give you a list of the henges and also a list of the NFTs that you own. So you'll be able to pick which land you want to go to. Joel is saying I use the Brave browser. Yeah, I use the Brave browser for my kind of daily stuff, but it turns out that it wasn't working very well in our first live stream. Neither Brave nor Firefox were working, but Chrome kind of worked, and then I upgraded the PC, and Chrome seems to be offering the best performance at the moment. So that's what I would recommend at the moment, just for the Orthoverse. For everyday browsing, I would recommend Brave, because you get about, I get about $5 a month, I think, in BAT tokens, so basic attention tokens. Plus, it's got a lot more privacy. But they are using Chromium, the engine that, and I think Microsoft Edge uses it. No, they can't be using it, can they? Anyway, Chrome uses Chromium as the underlying web engine, and Brave does too, because Chrome is an open source project, so Brave just forked it and added a whole bunch of, they tokenized it, basically. So, yeah, that's my recommendation. Okay, Ken says he's on the same corner as me, but he can't see me. That's going to be interesting. Right, okay, let's... Are we really on the same corner? I'm not... Ken is in Pen Orbdell. It knows that you're there. Right, well, let's... Are you on the southern side, Ken? Okay, so I was right. It just seemed... Oops. It just seemed like the wrong thing to do. Surprises me, but Microsoft are getting more and more keen on putting open source stuff in. Okay, well, I don't know what would be a good place to meet then, so we're absolutely sure. Well, Ken, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand on, I'm in the southwest red sort of Badlands area, and I'll just stand on a cactus. And no, but then I have to wait 20 seconds for you to turn up, and then you won't be able to see me possibly, and then it'll have been a terrible waste of time. Okay, Ken sees where I am. Okay, well, how come I can't see you, Ken? Let's see, maybe if I switch to... no, I can't see. So, Ken can see me, but I can't see him. How odd. Right, okay, actually I had this very early on with JC, who I don't know if he's still here. I was invisible to him, but he could see me. And I think I think that does happen occasionally, and I think again, I hate to keep saying this, but I think again when we get avatars working, there will be sort of dynamic loading of skins, so that it should be it should fix the invisible skin problem. I think occasionally it fails to get one from the server, and then you end up with nothing as a skin. I had one instance where there were just capes running around with no bodies. That was odd. But I think that's a kind of low priority problem, to be honest, for now. I mean, obviously it's frustrating if you want to take a video of you and your friends and some of them are invisible. But I don't know. I imagine people would rather have their saves go reliably, and maybe they would prefer to be able to design their own skins and load them, even if only half the people in the world can see them. Right, guys, it's 1 minute to midnight here. I did say at the beginning I was feeling quite tired, but I think I managed to keep my energy up, thanks in no small part to the fact that I got some nice questions, and it was fun to see various people jumping around on mountains nearby and stuff like that. It's been a great hour again. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and hopefully I will see you here again, same time, same place, next week. Bye for now.